My first act was rejecting my parents' $50,000 allowance and taking out a predatory loan instead. In my past life, my roommate Jessica bound me to a system that swapped our finances. No matter what, my account never held more than $30. With my money, she became the campus queen, dating heartthrob Ethan Virtue while painting me as her pitiful charity case. When I showed bank statements, every transfer magically shrank to $30. Jessica would flash her phone, crocodile tears gleaming. See? Her parents sent her $50,000 monthly. Why can't she face reality? The backlash was vicious. Relatives who defended me died in accidents. My body mysteriously withered. Finally, Ethan's friends dragged me into the woods. I died after hours of torture. Then I woke up, back in time. This time, I'd see how long the campus princess lasted without my money and with crushing debt. Seriously, Frida, you're pathetic. All your designer clothes were bought with handouts, and you have the nerve to be flashier than Jessica? She's so generous to you, and you just waste her money? If Jessica weren't such a saint, she would have kicked you to the curb ages ago. Say something. Stop playing dead. Get on your knees and apologize to her, or we'll make you. The jeers echoed in my ears, and for a dizzying moment, I struggled to place myself. Then it hit me. I was truly reborn, thrown back to the very day my roommate Jessica Price used her system to frame me as a poor student living off her charity. Seeing my silence, Jessica stepped forward, her voice dripping with fake empathy. Frida, don't tell me you're going to claim that money came from your parents, that you're the rich one. If that's the case, why don't you show everyone your bank balance? She smiled sweetly. Or better yet, have your parents wire you a few $100,000 right now. That would shut us all up. Last time, I fell for it. I stared at my $30 balance in disbelief and frantically called my parents, begging them to send more money. My desperation to prove the truth only played into her hands, funneling immense wealth directly into her account and solidifying her status as campus queen. When I held up my phone to show the incoming transfers, the numbers had magically changed to pocket change. In an instant, I became a public enemy, accused of being a vain, selfish leech who was bleeding her poor, hardworking parents dry. As I was plotting my next move, the campus heartthrob Ethan Virtue finally spoke up, his voice laced with contempt. Frida, it's over. Stop being so stubborn. A vain, selfish person like you doesn't deserve Jessica's kindness. The thought of you chasing after me makes my skin crawl. His brow furrowed into disgust as he strode forward and shoved me hard. I stumbled and fell to the ground. It was ironic. During freshman orientation, he had approached me, commenting on the beautiful necklace I wore and asking if he could borrow it to buy a similar one for his mother. Now a sharp pain shot through my shoulder where I'd hit the floor. The crowd around us erupted in cheers, shouting that Ethan had done the right thing. This only fueled Jessica's performance. She bit her lip, looking down at me with tear-filled eyes, making no move to help me up. Frida, I can't believe it's come to this. We're roommates. All you had to do was admit you were wrong. I would have forgiven you. Why do you have to be so stubborn and twist the truth? Who said I was going to be stubborn? I gritted my teeth and pushed myself up from the ground, forcing a smile. I'm so sorry, Your Highness. I was being vain. I took the money you gave me and bought all this stuff as punishment. I'll donate every last piece to charity for them to sell. I looked at her with wide, pleading eyes. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me and continue supporting me. The crowd, which had been ready to tear me apart, fell silent. They exchanged confused glances, unsure of what to say. Jessica was stunned. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes. Frida, you don't have to do that. If you're really sorry, maybe you should sell the items first and then donate the cash. What if the charity damages them? Oh, I'm sure the professionals can handle it. If I sold them first, would there be any money left for me to donate? It would go straight to her account. I turned away, my expression turning to ice. I pulled out my phone, opened a predatory loan app, and applied for a small $100 loan. As expected, the moment the loan was approved, the money never hit my account. I refreshed the app. The name on the loan agreement was now Jessica Price. So the system was thorough. It didn't just swap money, it swapped the source too. I almost laughed out loud. Jessica, your nightmare is just beginning. I took out $100,000 in high-interest loans in a single sitting. Then I called my parents, told them I didn't need an allowance anymore, and applied for off-campus housing. I would live off what I already had. Even so, a heavy pressure lingered in my chest. The system's parasitic effect on my body hadn't vanished completely. That afternoon, as I was leaving campus with a small bag, I saw Jessica and Ethan waiting for a car by the road, surrounded by a gaggle of their followers. They spotted me, their faces twisting into identical sneers. Frida. Jessica called out, jogging over to me with a bright, cheerful expression. What a coincidence. We were just talking about you. I've been thinking, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I've decided to stop giving you money and help you find a part-time job instead. It was amazing what money could do. Dressed head to toe in luxury brands, the old insecure girl who used to subsist on the cheapest cafeteria food was gone. It was hard to believe this was the same person. I couldn't help but wonder what dark magic she'd used to bind me. She shoved a stack of flyers into my hand, her expression earnest. I picked out all the best paying jobs for you. Once you donate money you've earned with your own two hands, everyone will forgive you, she sighed dramatically. My eyes are killing me from searching for these. Anyway, I'm about to treat everyone to a 5-star hotel buffet. How about you pick up the tab this time? I had never met anyone so shameless. She was spending my parents' money while trying to force me into working to fund her lifestyle. I glanced at the flyers. They were filled with shady gigs, including an ad for selling my own eggs. Just then, Ethan and the others sauntered over. What are you waiting for, Frida? One of them scoffed. Some of those jobs have application deadlines today. You'd better hurry. They won't wait for you. Jessica's parents just sent her another $100,000, another chimed in. That's more than your parents probably make in a lifetime. How can a poor girl like you just stand around doing nothing? A glittering Rolex had appeared on Ethan's wrist, a model that screamed chosen by a girlfriend and was easily worth tens of thousands. He was burning through my money fast, no wonder he was so eager for me to earn more. I couldn't help but smirk. As a student, I think my priority should be my studies, I said with a pleasant smile. From now on, I plan to live on $30 a month, not a penny more. I'd appreciate it if you all helped me stick to that. I turned to leave, but a hand clamped down on my arm. Is that how a charity case speaks to her benefactor? Ethan snarled, flinging my arm away as if he'd touched something filthy. Jessica went to all this trouble to help you, and you're just going to walk away? Do you enjoy being a parasite? His cold, menacing gaze merged with the memory of his eyes as he watched me die in my past life. My breath caught in my throat. He shoved me to the ground again before turning to leave with Jessica. But this time, a thought struck me. It wasn't just about sucking up to Jessica. It felt like he genuinely hated me. It felt like an eternity before my family's Rolls-Royce finally pulled up to the curb. By then, I was drenched in sweat, on the verge of heat stroke. My driver, Mr. Virtue, took his sweet time parking before giving a cursory double tap on the horn. Mr. Virtue, what took you so long? I asked, collapsing into the back seat, my shirt already soaked through. He, on the other hand, was in a noticeably cheerful mood. He shot me a stern look in the rearview mirror. You know, miss, you really need to work on that princess attitude. I'm your family's driver, not your personal slave. I'm an elder. You should show some respect. He sniffed. It was just a few minutes of waiting. Most girls aren't nearly as fragile as you. I'd never let my son date someone with your attitude. Just then, my phone buzzed with notifications. It was my classmates' social media feeds. Oh my god, Ethan's family is seriously loaded. He let us ride in his Rolls-Royce. Look at that Starlight headliner. It was so epic. Next time we need a second car, though, I'm calling dibs on the Maybach. If we hadn't wasted so much time dealing with that shameless pauper, we would have been cooling off in this luxury car ages ago. I froze. That wasn't his car. That was my family's car. I immediately made a call. The results of a quick background check confirmed it. Mr. Virtue's son was none other than Ethan Virtue. It all clicked into place. No wonder my every attempt to prove my identity in my past life was thwarted. There was always a mole leaking information, and no wonder Ethan was so determined to destroy me. He and Jessica were working together from the inside. My hand instinctively went to the necklace Ethan had borrowed during orientation. That's when it all started. Right after that, Jessica, the girl who could barely afford food, suddenly became incredibly wealthy. Back then, I used my meal card for everything and never checked my bank balance. I had handed them the perfect opportunity. Miss Frida, what are you doing? The car screeched to a halt. Mr. Virtue was staring at me in the rearview mirror, his eyes wide with panic, fixed on my hand as it was about to unclasp the necklace. That was a coming-of-age gift from your mother, he stammered. You're not taking it off, are you? His panicked expression was all the confirmation I needed. Of course not, I said with a small laugh. Just admiring it. I closed my eyes, and from the driver's seat I heard a quiet sigh of relief. The moment I got back to the villa, I ripped the necklace off. I called my father and told him Mr. Virtue had been disrespectful and needed to be fired. Then I enjoyed a gourmet meal prepared by our French chef, and after eating my fill, I collapsed into bed. As I suspected, without the necklace, the crushing weight on my chest lifted. It was as if a massive boulder had been rolled off me. To avoid tipping my hand, I found an identical-looking necklace in my jewelry box and put it on. And now, Jessica, all you have left is that $100,000 debt. I did not return to campus for a week. Instead, I stayed at our family's villa, pretending to recover from stress while secretly plotting my next steps. My father noticed my unusual quiet but chalked it up to academic pressure. My mother, on the other hand, watched me with sharper eyes. She was not one to be fooled by silence. "Are you hiding something?" she asked on the fourth day, her fingers tapping against her porcelain teacup. "No," I replied smoothly, sipping my chamomile tea. "I'm just thinking about switching my major." She narrowed her eyes but said nothing more. In reality, I had no intention of switching majors. I had bigger plans. Now that I knew the system transferred not just money but sources and identity, I had to find its weak points. The necklace had clearly acted as a conduit or anchor. The moment I removed it, the pressure in my chest eased, and I finally felt like my thoughts were mine again. Jessica had been siphoning my life through that piece of jewelry. That much I was sure of. But I needed proof. Something that could not be denied or twisted. So I returned to campus 1 week later, not to attend class, but to watch. I spent the first 3 days shadowing Jessica and Ethan from a distance, careful to avoid attention. I watched as they hosted lavish brunches, passed out scholarships under Jessica's foundation, and flaunted their wealth like nobles among peasants. They even hosted a fundraiser at the student union, where Jessica gave a speech about compassion and resilience while wearing a gown that cost more than most families made in a year. Everyone clapped. Everyone swooned. It was sickening. But on the fourth day, I caught a crack in her mask. Jessica was arguing with someone in a secluded hallway, voice shrill and panicked. "No, I don't care if the app says the funds are low. Just open another account. Use her name again if you have to. As long as it pulls from the same source, we're fine." "What do you mean the last transfer bounced?" "That's impossible. It's her account. Check the sync." She turned and froze when she saw me standing at the far end of the corridor. I raised a brow and waved. "Everything all right, Jessica?" She smiled too quickly. "Of course. Just a banking error. These things happen." I nodded. "Of course. Wouldn't want your donations getting interrupted." Her eyes narrowed, just for a second, and I knew she had seen the shift. The system was starting to falter. Later that day, I visited the IT department under the guise of researching system vulnerabilities for a class project. I spoke to a graduate assistant named Marcus who seemed too eager to impress. "What exactly do you want to know?" he asked, twirling a pen between his fingers. "Let's say," I began, careful with my tone, "someone were to install a background sync between two financial profiles. What kind of metadata trail would that leave?" He blinked. "You mean like mirrored accounts? That would require serious root access. You'd need permissions at the firmware level. But yeah, it would leave a digital trail. Especially if it redirected funds or obfuscated data." "Why?" "Curiosity," I said. He grinned. "Well, if you ever find something weird, I'd love to take a look. Stuff like that could be groundbreaking." "I'll let you know," I said, already deciding not to. The next phase was riskier. I applied for several new bank accounts using pseudonyms. Then, from a different device, I attempted to send myself small transfers through known apps. One by one, they failed. Every $1 disappeared before reaching me. But when I tracked the IP of where the funds were rerouted, the trail led to Jessica's dorm suite. Exactly as I suspected. It was a web. Complex. Automated. Possibly AI-assisted. The system not only intercepted transfers but disguised the origin and redirected funds based on proximity to certain triggers, most likely wearable items or biometrics. I needed a test subject. Someone the system had not latched onto. That someone turned out to be Becca, a quiet girl from my statistics class. She had no ties to Jessica or Ethan and still used a flip phone. "Can I ask you a weird favor?" I said one afternoon while walking with her across campus. Becca looked wary. "Depends how weird." "Can I give you $100 in cash and have you transfer it back to me digitally? I'm testing something." She shrugged. "Sure." I handed her a crisp bill. She used a borrowed phone, logged into a new app, and transferred the amount. The moment she hit send, my phone buzzed. "Incoming transfer, $100. I stared. It had arrived. Intact. My pulse quickened. Becca blinked. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I breathed. "Perfect." That night, I made a list. I titled it Operation Severance. Phase 1, eliminate all traceable links, no wearables, no jewelry, no apps previously installed. Phase 2, use proxies for financial access. No more direct deposits or digital footprints. Phase 3, sabotage Jessica's source. Turn the system against her. The opportunity came sooner than expected. The university was hosting a digital security symposium. Guest speakers. Media coverage. It was a perfect storm. Jessica was one of the keynote panelists. She arrived in a gold gown and heels worth at least $5,000. Ethan accompanied her in a custom-tailored suit, adjusting his cufflinks like royalty. They took the stage to thunderous applause. I waited backstage, posing as a volunteer, carrying a backup laptop in case one of the speakers needed assistance. Right before Jessica's speech began, I approached her handler. "There's a sync issue with the display. I need to swap the device." The handler barely looked up. "Fine, just be quick." I connected my decoy laptop to the stage's media system. It looked identical to the original, but inside was a program designed to intercept the audio feed and overlay my file at the perfect moment. Jessica began her speech, all smiles. "And it's not about money. It's about heart. When I met Frida, she was broken. I gave her purpose." The screen behind her flickered. A new video appeared. It showed Jessica in her dorm, laughing with Ethan as they scrolled through my financial history. $30 again, she giggled. "It's like clockwork. She still doesn't suspect a thing." The crowd gasped. Jessica turned, horrified. "What is this?" The video continued. Ethan's voice, "Think she'll figure it out?" "Jessica, does it matter? As long as we keep siphoning from her parents, she's just a walking wallet." The auditorium exploded into chaos. Phones came out. Journalists stood up. The moderator tried to cut the feed, but it was too late. The footage went viral in under 15 minutes. Jessica's eyes found me in the shadows. "You," she hissed. I didn't reply. I just turned and walked away. Back at the villa, my mother greeted me at the door. "You did something," she said. "Something necessary," I replied. She didn't press. That night, I received a message from Ethan. "You'll regret this." I stared at the screen. "No, Ethan. You will." The next morning, the financial press reported that Jessica Price's family accounts were frozen pending investigation. Anonymous tips had been submitted to federal authorities about wire fraud and digital embezzlement. At noon, the university suspended her and Ethan pending disciplinary review. But I was not done yet. Because revenge without understanding is just anger. And I wanted more than justice. I wanted to understand the system. And then dismantle it from the inside. The headlines spread faster than fire in a dry forest. Campus angel or digital thief? Jessica Price under investigation. Exposed, the dark truth behind the Queen of Compassion. Siphoned wealth and stolen identity, the Frida Fisher case. By the end of the second day, Jessica had gone radio silent. Her social media accounts were wiped clean, and Ethan's once booming influencer presence was reduced to a trickle of defensive comments and staged apologies. We had no idea. We were manipulated too. This was a technical misunderstanding. Right. The university attempted to keep the matter internal at first, but someone, probably Marcus, the grad assistant I never trusted, leaked the full logs of the intercepted data. Screenshots, voice files, payment routes, IP traces, banking metadata. All of it. Within 72 hours, every student on campus had formed an opinion. Some gloated. Some defended. A few sent me messages of apology or quiet support, but I did not reply. Not yet. Instead, I stayed in my off-campus apartment, plotting Phase 2. Operation Severance had succeeded in severing Jessica's false halo, but that was just the first domino. There was still the issue of the system, whatever it truly was, that had allowed this entire manipulation to happen in the first place. And I was starting to think it ran deeper than Jessica. Much deeper. On the fifth morning, I received a package. No return address. Hand-delivered. Unmarked envelope inside. When I opened it, I found a single photo. It was from freshman orientation, me, standing beside a younger Jessica, both of us smiling. But something was off. Behind us, in the blurry background, stood Ethan. And just behind him, another man, older, dressed in black, with a cane and a scar across his cheek. He was looking directly at the camera. Underneath the photo, someone had written in clean, block letters. The system was never hers to control. I stared at the message for a long time. Was this a warning? A threat? A clue? My instincts told me it was all three. So I went to the one person I had been avoiding. My mother. She was reading a leather-bound book on the villa terrace when I approached. A breeze stirred the pages, and the scent of jasmine hung in the air. I need to know something, I said, holding up the photo. She looked at it for 3 seconds. No more. Then she closed her book and gestured to the chair across from her. I wondered when you'd ask, she said. You know him, I said. Yes. Who is he? Your grandfather's oldest rival. Name is Raymond Albrecht. He was exiled from our family network almost 40 years ago. I blinked. We have a family network? She gave me a small smile, then reached into her purse and handed me a folded piece of paper. It was yellowed with age and filled with names, dates, and symbols. This, she said, is our true inheritance. Not money. Not stocks. Legacy. Connections. And control. Control of what? Data. Influence. Information systems. It clicked. Are you telling me my family invented the system Jessica used? No, she replied calmly. I'm telling you she stole a diluted version of one we abandoned decades ago. I leaned back, trying to process. Why would we abandon something like that? Because it consumed its users, she said. It required emotional anchors to work. Physical conduits. Like jewelry, heirlooms. Eventually, the cost wasn't just financial, it was spiritual. Psychological. People became obsessed. Addicted. Jessica used a necklace. My mother nodded. Then she didn't build it. She triggered it. Most likely without understanding. Ethan? His father was your grandfather's driver. He was dismissed for unauthorized use of family data. Looks like he passed more than just driving lessons to his son. So Jessica and Ethan were puppets? She sighed. No. They were opportunists. But the strings were old. Buried. You woke them up. I exhaled slowly. And now? You need to finish what your grandfather started. Dismantle it. How? From the inside. That night, I returned to campus and visited the restricted archives in the library basement. Only a few students ever entered this part of the building. You had to request access through 2 different departments and sign a physical logbook. I used my family name. Doors opened. In the back, behind a wall of climate-controlled cabinets, I found a folder labeled Project Mirror Root, deactivated 1998. Inside were diagrams, schematics, old digital logs and a flowchart of a system that looked disturbingly familiar. Mirror Root was a prototype network that created mirrored digital identities using wearable anchors and emotional energy. It used biometric feedback, proximity sensors, and adaptive AI routing to link 2 subjects through one data stream, allowing one person to drain, mask, or redirect financial and emotional output from the other. It had been banned. Shut down. But not destroyed. And now, it had awakened again through Jessica's usage of the necklace. My necklace. The coming-of-age gift from my mother, who had likely known all along. I left the archives with a folder under my arm, heart pounding. The next morning, I found Ethan sitting on a bench outside the administration building, looking pale and drawn. He stood when he saw me. We need to talk. I don't think so, I said. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I tilted my head. You mean the part where I died? His face twisted. That wasn't me. That was her. You held me down while they kicked me, Ethan. Don't rewrite history. He ran a hand through his hair. I didn't know the system would do that. I just thought it would make things easier. For whom? I asked. I thought, if we could access your account, your family's influence, we'd finally be somebody. You were already somebody, Ethan. But you chose to be nobody. He looked like he wanted to argue. Then he looked down. I think she's losing her mind, he said quietly. Jessica. She keeps saying the system is talking to her. That it's inside her now. I stared at him. Maybe it is. Can you fix it? I don't know. He hesitated. Do you want help? From you? Yes. I considered it. Ethan was a liar. A coward. A traitor. But he was also a witness. And right now, I needed every thread. Fine, I said. But if you betray me again, I'll erase you from every system in this city. He didn't laugh. Because he knew I meant it. We spent the next week pulling the rest of the logs from Jessica's devices. She hadn't wiped them properly. We recovered files, thousands of them, showing every transaction, every rerouted payment, every moment she'd laughed at my expense. But we also found something else. She wasn't the only one using the system. There were others. 7 users. Each tied to a different anchor item. Each one linked to a university student. And each one with a mirror. I stared at the list. Then I looked at the clock. It was 3 in the morning. And the real war had just begun. 3 in the morning. The campus was silent, blanketed by a heavy fog that clung to every light post and window frame like a warning. I sat in the center of my apartment floor, surrounded by printed logs, handwritten diagrams, and highlighter-streaked photocopies of the mirror root files. Ethan was asleep on the couch, His phone face down beside him, the screen flickering every few minutes with a new notification he was too exhausted to read. 7 users. 7 anchors. 7 mirrors. And all of them still active. The system was evolving. I circled the final page of the logs in red ink. The timestamp was from just 2 days ago. Jessica had not been the last. In fact, if the logs were right, she was now the weakest connection. Her anchor, the necklace, had been forcefully severed. That should have deactivated her link. But the system had adapted. It had found another host. Or perhaps it always had more than one. Each of the 7 entries listed a code name: Monarch, Ghost, Lantern, Echo, Cardinal, Vixen, and Hydra. Hydra's last interaction was tagged to a location just off campus, a building I recognized. A private student society known as the Guild, supposedly an academic fraternity. In truth, it was a haven for elite students from wealthy families who networked in shadows and dined in silence. Hydra's anchor item, a silver ring with obsidian inlay. I had seen that ring before. Professor Greaves wore it every day during his lectures. He taught advanced cryptographic systems, a class I had never taken, but whose entrance hallway I passed every Tuesday. Greaves was known for his connections to the defense industry, but rumors swirled about his connections to legacy networks, tech whispered about but never confirmed. I stood slowly, my back aching. If I was going to dismantle Mirror Root, I had to confront the reality. This was no longer just about Jessica or Ethan. This was systemic. Intergenerational. And its roots were deeper than anyone realized. At 8 in the morning, I walked into Greaves's lecture hall. No one stopped me. I sat in the back, hoodie pulled low over my face, as he began his usual monologue about the ethics of surveillance and the illusion of digital privacy. Every system has a weakness, he said, adjusting his glasses. Even the ones we think are invincible. The trick is understanding that the weakness is almost always human. I raised my hand. He blinked, slightly surprised. Yes? What about systems that evolve past their users? I asked. The room went still. He studied me for a beat too long. Then he smiled. That's a good question. Maybe we'll discuss it in office hours. After class, I waited outside his office for 45 minutes. When the door finally opened, he gestured me inside without a word. Once we were alone, I placed the photo on his desk, the one from orientation. Him in the background. The scar. The look. He didn't flinch. So, he said, you know. Enough to be dangerous, I replied. Good, he said, sitting back. That means you're not completely naive. Let's skip the pretense. What do you want? To shut it down. He tilted his head. Why? Because it killed me once. That made him pause. I see, he murmured. Rebirth. That explains the echo anomalies. You knew? I suspected. Then why didn't you stop it? Because systems like Mirror Root can't be stopped. Only redirected. No, I said, leaning forward. That's what people like you always say. But I'm not here to redirect. I'm here to erase. His eyes gleamed. And what makes you think you're capable of that? I pulled out the activation logs. The intercepted metadata. The blueprint reconstructions. The inheritance maps my mother gave me. His smile faded. Clever girl, he said softly. You're Hydra, I whispered. I was, he admitted. Until you severed the root. The ring still hums, but the stream is dying. You're collapsing the mirror field faster than it can rebuild. Good. He looked at me carefully. I won't stop you, he said. But others will. You've made enemies you haven't even met yet. I don't care. You will. He reached into his drawer and tossed a black flash drive onto the desk. This is the kill switch, he said. But it only works if you reach the root server. And to do that, you'll need to go underground. Where? The vault's beneath the guild building. There's a secondary entrance beneath the statue of the first chancellor. Swipe this card, he tossed over a badge, and take the elevator to negative level 5. What's down there? Everything, he said. Or nothing. Depends on how much you're willing to sacrifice. That night, I stood before the chancellor statue in the cold drizzle, the badge in my pocket and the flash drive clutched in my hand. Ethan had insisted on coming, but I told him to stay. I could not risk anyone else. I swiped the card. The stone slid sideways. A hidden door opened with a mechanical groan, revealing a steel elevator with a single glowing button, -5. I stepped in. The ride took nearly 2 minutes. At the bottom, the doors opened into darkness. Sensors triggered. Rows of lights flickered on, revealing a massive chamber filled with humming servers, old tech interlaced with newer components, and screens showing looping data feeds, names, accounts, heartbeat monitors, scrolling code. It was a digital tomb of identities. At the center stood a column of glass containing what looked like a tree, its roots made of cables, its branches pulsing with light. This was the root. I approached the terminal. Inserted the drive. Typed in the key sequence. The screen flashed. Authentication confirmed. Erasure protocol activated. Warning, user link detected. I froze. A red line pulsed across the screen. Anchor found, subject Frida Fisher. What? No. I had removed the necklace. I had severed all links. The screen pulsed again. Secondary anchor, subject Ethan Virtue. My breath caught. It wasn't me anymore. It was him. The last piece clicked into place. In trying to help me, Ethan had become the new conduit. The system had latched onto him through proximity, emotional entanglement, and guilt. I had not destroyed the mirror. I had passed it. A timer began to count down. 10 seconds. 9. 8. My chest ached. I reached for the drive. Then I stopped. Let it run. 7. 6. This was the only way. 5. 4. He would survive. 3. It would break the loop. 2. Maybe. 1. The screen went black. The chamber lights shut off. The hum faded. Silence. I exhaled, my knees buckling as I collapsed beside the terminal. It was done. It was over. And for the first time in what felt like centuries, I was finally alone in my own mind. Back on the surface, dawn was breaking. My phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. I felt it. Like something cracked inside. But I'm still here. You? I smiled faintly. Free. Later that day, I received another envelope. Inside was a single sentence. You burned the forest. But the seeds are still in the soil. No signature. No address. But I wasn't afraid. Because I wasn't reborn this time. I was rewritten. And whatever came next, I would be ready. The system was gone. Or so I believed. For weeks after the purge, silence reigned. The campus slowly recovered from its hysteria. News outlets moved on to other scandals. Jessica disappeared entirely. Rumors said she fled the country, others said she was institutionalized, but no one had proof. Ethan withdrew from his classes and moved off campus. He sent me messages sometimes, brief, hollow ones. I replied even less. I had no interest in rebuilding what we never truly had. My focus shifted. With the root system destroyed and the anchor severed, I expected everything to return to normal. But nothing felt normal. My body, once heavy with pressure and fatigue, felt light to the point of being unstable. My senses were sharper. My sleep deeper. But there was something else too, an edge to the air, a faint hum under the silence. Something was waiting. I returned to the villa and handed my mother the final logs, the dismantled flash drive, and the copy of the project files. She did not ask questions. She simply took the documents, placed them in a locked drawer, and poured me tea. Now what? I asked. That depends on you, she said. I don't want this legacy. She nodded slowly. Most who inherit power don't. Then why pass it on? So it can be rewritten. I left the room with a bitter taste in my mouth. That night, I dreamed of wires twisting through trees, of silver roots wrapping around my wrists. I woke with a start, breath shallow. The system was dead, but the echoes remained. Psychological, perhaps. Residual. But real. I needed clarity. So I did something I had avoided since day one. I returned to the woods. The place where I had died in my first life. It had rained the night before, and the forest floor was damp and uneven. The trees stood silent like sentinels, the same ones that had watched my past self break and bleed beneath their branches. I found the clearing. The rocks. The scorched patch of earth. My knees buckled, and I knelt there, pressing my palm to the ground. I'm not her anymore, I whispered. The wind didn't answer. But something inside me did. Closure. Not vengeance. Not triumph. Just release. On my way back, I received a call from a blocked number. I answered without speaking. A voice spoke, calm and deliberate. You severed the original root. But you never asked who planted it. I froze. Who are you? You'll find out when the next mirror activates. Goodbye, Frida. The line went dead. For the first time in weeks, I felt fear, not of being drained or framed or erased, but fear of the unknown. The system was bigger than Jessica. Bigger than my family. It was an idea, a structure, self-replicating and viral. I needed allies. The next day, I returned to campus and met with Marcus, the overeager grad assistant from the IT department. He looked thinner, more tired. His room was a mess of server parts and open notebooks. "I know you were involved," I said, sitting across from him. He didn't deny it. "I didn't think it would go that far," he muttered. "It always does," I said. "How deep were you?" "I was recruited as a data handler. I didn't even know what I was mapping. Then I saw the logs. I knew it was your data. But I couldn't speak. They made sure of it." "Who's they?" He shook his head. "I never met them. Only got instructions. But there was one name." He wrote it on a torn piece of paper. "Aurelia Vale." "Who is she?" "No idea," he said. "But she signed every encrypted packet I ever received." That name burned in my mind for days. I searched databases, old directories, student records, even underground forums. Nothing. No face. No history. Just a void. Until one night, I received an email. Subject: "I've been watching you." No message. Just a single link. I clicked it. It opened a private live stream. A dimly lit room. A woman stood in front of a blank screen. Tall. Severe. Wearing a white suit with a silver brooch shaped like a tree with roots. She spoke calmly. "Frida Fisher. The girl who broke the chain." I said nothing. "I'm not your enemy," she continued. "In fact, I'm impressed. You did what generations before you failed to do. You severed the active field." "What do you want?" I asked aloud, knowing the stream had audio input. "To offer you something." "No. You haven't heard it yet." "I don't need to." She smiled. "Even with the system offline, you're still connected. The energy doesn't vanish. It redirects. That connection makes you different now. You know it. You feel it. The mirror is not dead. It's dormant. Let me help you reshape it. I won't become what Jessica was. Jessica was a pawn. I'm offering you agency. I'd rather be powerless." She tilted her head. "You already made your choice the moment you survived. You're not a victim anymore, Frida. You're a lens. You reflect. You absorb. You project. Whether you want it or not." The stream ended. I sat frozen in my room for a long time. Later that night, Ethan knocked on my door. "You felt it too, didn't you?" he asked. "Yes." "Do we run?" "No." "Then what?" I looked out the window, toward the moonlit trees. "We don't run. We build." From that moment on, I began something new. I called it Glassline, a counter system. A network built not on manipulation but transparency. Not on domination but defense. It was open source, decentralized, and anonymous by design. A mirror with no reflection, only light. Within 6 months, it had spread across 2 universities, then 10. Coders and digital activists joined. Victims of identity theft, financial abuse, and silent systemic sabotage came forward. We created protocols to detect anchor items, block mirrored feedback loops, and expose latent data siphons in real time. Jessica never reappeared. Aurelia never contacted me again. But I knew she was watching. 1 year later, I stood on a stage at a tech ethics summit, delivering a keynote speech under my real name. Not the charity case. Not the leech. Not the broken girl with $30 in her account. I was Frida Fisher. Reborn. Redefined. Unmirrored. And this time, the system would answer to me.